にちは、皆さん。I'm Great Oka Unite Empire。今日は試合があった。そして彼がエンパイアの応援してくれるってよ。みんな、ブローキンテーブルポッドキャストよろしく。
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Broken Tables podcast. I am your host, Jeffrey Vegas, and as always, we are here with our co-host, Rome. How you doing tonight, man?
You know, I'm doing good, but a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight has me kind of irritated and kind of pissed. So, I mean, that's a loaded question how I'm doing.
Yeah, we have some absolutely incredible news for you guys here tonight. We'll just get right into it. Sasha Banks and Naomi walk out on Monday Night Raw's main event last night. Wow. I was absolutely shocked, but at the same time, I was not shocked. After walking into John Laurinaitis' office, they placed their tag team championship belts on his desk, and they walked out. They walked out of the building, claiming they were not respected enough as the tag team champions. And listen to this shit. So essentially, people are saying that they were going to have Naomi pin Sasha. Now, I know after the fact now tonight, we've heard that, they weren't going to interact. But if we find out that that was the actual plan, where they were going to have Naomi pin Sasha to go on and face Bianca Belair, that may be one of the worst booking things I have ever heard. But even the decision that they claim now, where they weren't going to interact at all, they were both going to go face, the respective champions of Bianca Belair and Ronda Rousey. That's terrible as well. Who does that help? Why on earth would you take your tag team champions, your women's tag team champions, and basically job them out to the two women's champions? It makes absolutely no sense, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting stories going around. I mean, I do have a few notes that, to kind of go through. We have WWE's side of the story. They released a statement. We have if it's to be believed, someone close to Sasha and Naomi gave their side of the story, which I also have that for us to go over. I mean, yeah, you did a pretty great job kind of covering the beginning of this. I mean, obviously, we know that there was supposed to be a 6-pack challenge, which included, Naomi, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Nikki Ash, and Doudrop. Around the start of the show, like you said, the Sasha and Naomi went into Johnny Ace's office and laid their tag belts down on the table and said they weren't respected and they were out. Did you hear that Vince found out while he was in Gorilla?
Yes, I did. So apparently he found out like as the show was starting, sitting, in Gorilla where he always sits. So yeah, that was a shocker to me.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, because I had saw on Twitter that they had announced that match as the show started.
Yeah.
And they quickly had to change course, and they shot an angle with Becky and Adam Pearce or whatever, and set up for the new main event. So
and Becky pitched that, by the way.
Yeah, I had heard that. I mean,
pitching herself,
kind of
pitching herself, losing to Asuka. That's not terrible. So I commend her for that a little bit.
Yeah, but there's some other stuff coming out that it could be something that Becky said. I don't know. I don't know. We'll get into it. Again, there's a lot to unpack, and I definitely want to try to stay on task with it.
Yeah.
So let's see. So where are we at with this? So
basically, let me hit you with this one here. So a lot of people are calling this move by Bianca and Naomi unprofessional. I completely disagree, knowing the track record that the E has with what they've done with people in the past. So what's your take on that? Do you think this was unprofessional of them?
No, I don't. I think kind of like what you're saying, like the track record here is just it's just unacceptable. Like these guys, or I'm sorry, these girls, whatever. They're two of the most talented women on that roster. I mean, Sasha Banks is, in my opinion, always been one of their best wrestlers, in the women's division. And they've done they I don't know why they have a women's tag team championship if it means nothing.
Yep.
And it's never meant anything. And they keep, you know, trying to make it mean something by doing nothing with it. And I can understand Sasha's, point of view of being fed up with it, pun not intended, where it's just it's like I get it. She's contracted by the WWE to do what they want from her. And I understand that side of the argument. But there needs to be a balance there. There needs to be some sort of, middle ground where, yes, at the end of the day, I don't think that Sasha's problem is doing the job for Ronda, and I don't think Naomi has a problem with doing the job for Bianca Belair. I don't think that was necessarily the issue. I think the issue was more so that you give these women these championships with the sole purpose of just feeding them to other wrestlers
Yeah.
or other champions, and I just don't see the point of that. I don't see why you would do that. And I know why. The problem is because they've failed to create new stars and they have no credible people, so they need to keep going back to the well. But the problem is that that's not a fair thing to expect of Sasha and Naomi, because then Sasha and Naomi end up not doing anything for their whole careers except for being fodder, because Sasha's already been beaten by Ronda in a big match. Like we don't need to see that again.
Yep.
But they were gonna put it out there.
Exactly.
So like no, I don't think necessarily like I think at the end of the day, if you're not being treated well by your employer, this isn't just a wrestling thing.
Yeah.
This is a life thing. If you're not being treated well, like you are not you don't owe anything to those places. You know what I
No.
mean? Like nobody owes anything to the WWE. Like
Yeah,
I
and
understand, like yes, they pay your bills and yes, they give you the opportunity and stuff like that. But the shit that they pull, the shit that they do, it's not it's just not fair game in my opinion. I just don't see it that way.
no, and remember, the WWE does their contracts in those weird ways where you're basically like subcontracted to them, but it's an exclusive, contract. And if they essentially book you to destroy, your, I don't want to say like reputation or what, but they basically destroy everything that you've built over the past few years by making you basically a jobber. You got to kind of got to look out for yourself on that one and say, hey, you know what? No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
And there's a
definitely. I definitely agree with that. I think it's just a lot of ridiculousness. I just
yeah.
it's frustrating.
I
So
mean, couldn't we say Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan both did the same thing back in the day?
yeah, exactly. They absolutely did. And as we've seen in the past, Vince can be extremely petty when this type of thing happens.
Yeah.
Um, Throughout the show, and I don't hold this against Corey Graves because I that's just Graves doing his job.
No, yeah,
But when you have
absolutely.
you're spoon feeding Graves these lines of like they're being unprofessional, they're being hold on, what was there was a quote to it. Hold on, I actually have it in my notes. Just let me see real quick.
I agree with you. Corey Graves was just being fed into his ear. He was just repeating the teleprompter.
Yeah. Sasha Banks and Naomi summarily and unprofessionally walked out. That was what Vince McMahon had Corey Graves tell the crowd or tell the viewers at home on their show. Um, so they also put out a statement, which I'd like to read for you, because again, we're going to look at both sides and we're going to talk about both sides of the story. So the following is the official statement released by World Wrestling Entertainment
Oh, all right.
in regards to this situation. When Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into WWE Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on the desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions. And even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with the two of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequences. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contracts. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. So let's kind of break this down and kind of go through it. So
They've never done that before. Sorry.
What, release a statement like this?
Yeah, there's been fights in the ring with Charlotte and Nia Jax. No statement like this.
Yep.
I've never seen anything like this from them.
I think that this is them more so trying to get in front of a problem because they know it's a problem. So again, let's break this down. So they kind of open up talking about, that Sasha and Naomi were told well in advance of their participation in the six-pack challenge.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that during the broadcast, as we know, they walked John Laurinaitis' office, John Laurinaitis, with their success suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on the desk, and walked out. Now, this stuff, I believe, legitimately happened. I do think that WWE's part of the story up to this point checks out. I do believe all of this because other reports are saying the same thing. Continuing on, they claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions. Even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents. So this is where it kind of gets, when the first bit of bullshit kind of comes in for me. So they worked with literally everyone that's in this match in the six-pack. They had a match from my research. Again, I don't watch the product, and this is we'll get into that. I did research. They wrestled Doudrop and Nikki Ash last week, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yes, they did.
Okay. They've clearly worked. Clearly, Sasha Banks has worked with Becky Lynch, and clearly Sasha Banks has worked with Asuka, and Naomi has done the same. Over the last few years, there's like 5 or 6 female wrestlers who are kind of that core, and they've all worked each other a million times. And all 4 of those women are part of that group. So I don't understand where this part's coming from. And I think this is Vince being petty.
Yep.
I think this is Vince trying to put the blame a little bit more on them, saying like they're not comfortable working in those conditions. I don't know who we're talking about here. Fightful had reported that there was no set producer for the match at the time of when they walked out, which is a problem in and of itself. But there's nobody attached to this match that these women haven't worked with. So I don't understand where this is coming from, where all of a sudden they don't feel safe working with any of them. I don't buy this for 1 second.
Me neither.
This is just reeks of bullshit.
Yeah, that part right there was absolute horseshit. No way.
Completely. And then we get on to the next bit where Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. So for me, this is the section that cements that this is definitely not a work.
Yep.
Monday Night Raw, or the Fed referring to themselves as scripted.
Yeah, that was wild.
To me, this is kind of, again, like you said, it's not something that happens very often. I mean, like the moments that make me think of this, like it's the Brett screwed Brett promo, and then Austin taking his ball and going home, and then this. Like it's not something that happens very often. It's a very rare thing. And then they have to pepper it on with that last bit that just makes me laugh, because it says, "We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event," as in to put the blame and the disappointment of the fans on Sasha and Naomi, so what about all the other times that WWE fails to deliver?
I was just going to say, they don't do that all the time.
They do it every single week where where they don't deliver on these advertised matches. They were supposed to do Cody versus Theory last week and they didn't do it. Like,
Dude,
I don't know, man. I can't stand it. Like, I really hate them.
they
I
had Theory
really
versus Mustafa Ali, and then all of a sudden he's like, no, guest referee. Oh, wait, no, you're facing Veer Mahan. And it's like, what? Like, come on.
Well, that was the funny thing. Leading into last night's Raw, there was only one match advertised, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, like the
So,
Observer was even Brian Alvarez was talking about. The Observer was like, oh, they have one match, and it was like
yeah.
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So that's the perfect segue you give me there for leading into a point I wanted to make along with this Sasha and Naomi is Mustafa Ali. They don't, how you just said, they don't bring through their matches that they advertise. We were supposed to have Mustafa Ali versus Austin Theory for the U.S. title, right? So Mustafa Ali comes out and Austin Theory informs him, nah, I don't feel comfortable with this new referee. I want The Miz as our special guest referee. Then he says, wait a minute, I don't even feel like wrestling in this match. You're going to face Veer Mahan. And then they proceed to absolutely squash him. Now, this may have been a 4-minute match, but if you saw the end of this match, they squashed the shit out of him. It was absolute trash, using the cervical clutch, which is the worst name for a move I've ever heard, by the way. I said it to my wife last night and she looked at me like I was insane. And I was like, yeah, that's a real name of his move. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I think Mustafa Ali should have walked out with them when he found out what was happening here tonight. I feel like that was just as bad as what was Sasha and Naomi are going through. I think he should have walked out with them.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that, and I think that there's definitely cause for it. Unfortunately, walking out on even though they're not employees, they're independent contractors.
Yeah.
Walking out does not equal quitting for the WWE.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
There were reports coming out today that WWE doesn't want to even suspend Sasha and Naomi, which I don't blame them. If I were Vince, I would be doing everything in my power to get them to come back.
Yeah.
I mean it's a shit show. It's absolutely ridiculous. And
yeah, we know how petty he is, though. It's going to be interesting.
Well, so the thing is that you got to keep in mind is that Vince is not running a private company, and he's not the head of a private company. He's gonna get calls from Fox and from USA saying, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah.
I mean, like this, like in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if those calls had already happened.
Oh, guaranteed.
And that's the other thing. Like, I don't even know because we're still really early into this all happening. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of misinformation going around, a lot of stuff that's really kind of hard what to believe and what not to believe. I saw things last night going around like some people were saying that it's a contract dispute, that this is all started with contract issues. Some people, I think WrestleVotes, had noted that this was not a fresh issue, that it was ongoing, and that today was kind of like a boiling over point for the two, that it wasn't just today that led to this happening, it was leading up to it. I honestly, dude, I read shit last night that's saying Bruce Pritchard made some racist remarks against the two of them, and that's what set them over. Like, there's a lot of stuff going around, and I don't, I fucking hate him too. But like, there's a lot of stuff going around, and it's kind of hard to differentiate and separate what's real and what's not at the moment. It's I feel like we're sitting here maybe like a week or two from now with a lot more correct information, but it was a conversation that needed to be had. So I'm gonna get into the reverse statement, which was a statement made via Twitter to someone who is believed to be a reputable source close to Naomi.
Okay, so I don't have this one, so I won't be able to put it up on screen. But go ahead.
I gotcha. So I'm gonna read it for you. It's a good amount of reading. I saw the tweets last night, and Naomi does follow this person, so
Oh.
Yeah, so that it does lead some credibility that like it's not like this person is just some random dude who they don't even follow. Like, Naomi does follow him. Sasha Banks, oh, by the way, also unfollowed I think every single WWE account last night. If you go
Yeah,
to
I
her
did have
Twitter,
that in my notes here.
she's only following like 6 people at this point, and none of
She
them are WWE
she
accounts.
unfollowed
I
Roman
think
Reigns, like Vince, everybody.
I think right now she's following Naomi, Snoop Dogg, John Cena, and then like 2 other people that I don't
Wow.
know who they are. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, um so this source is on Twitter and it's at Adidas_head88. Like I said, he is followed by Naomi and was apparently given permission to share their side of the story. And this is some direct quotes coming at you. All right. You are approached in February as being put in a tag team after both being promised big feuds at WrestleMania. You bite the bullet and put everything you got into being a tag team. It works. You get over, win the titles at WrestleMania, and become merch pushers. 5 weeks into your reign, you show up to live TV, ready to work. You are told you will be in the main event, and you are happy. You are both then told that one of you will be going over from pinning the other. You have questions, why that decision was made, and how it helps y'all. You request a meeting with your boss to discuss it. Your boss takes the meeting, and everything is actually going well. He understands your concerns, the meeting ends well, and the match is told to be reconstructed. For some reason, producers get mad about it. You then ask, with one of your members going over, what happens to your titles? You are told basically that you will just be carrying the belts. They want you to use both to help both women's champions get more over. Bianca versus Naomi, Sasha versus Ronda. Neither of you, neither one of you will win the solo titles, and you won't defend your tag titles until Money in the Bank, which I believe is in July. Um, you you ask for another meeting with your boss, but this time you are being called spoiled. A producer walks away screaming. He comes back and tells both of you to fix your attitudes. You all have a brief meeting amongst yourselves and decide to stand up for yourselves. You go to another boss and make it clear you just have concerns. You ask why are we even in the match and why aren't other women in it? You ask why your titles have no stories for 2 months. Again, you are met with fix your attitudes. So after one final meeting with yourselves and asking others, you make the ultimate decision as a team. It's sad how one side is trying to create a fucked up narrative. Also, it was asked why were Nikki Ash and Doudrop in the match instead of starting their program tonight. Naomi nor Sasha talked down about being in the ring with either one. I don't know how that got flipped.
Dude,
That,
where do we even
that is,
start with that?
I mean, yeah, let's run through it, dude. I mean, that's why we're here. So, getting back to the top. So they were approached in February about being put in a tag team, and they were
Yep.
both promised big feuds at WrestleMania. You watch a little bit better than me. I do not believe that they had big feuds at WrestleMania, though.
No.
Didn't they? They won the titles though at
They won the
WrestleMania.
titles there, so I guess you could call that a big feud at WrestleMania, but if they were promised like singles feuds, that's different. But no, that's where they won their titles, so that's cool. Um they did get their WrestleMania moment. They got to hold the titles up. Sasha was crying, so yeah.
Okay, so carrying on, it seems like they say they bit the bullet and they put everything they got into making the tag team work, and it worked, and they got
Mm-hmm.
over. It says that they won the titles at WrestleMania, and they claim that they became merch pushers, which they would know because that type of number is shared with them, so
Yeah.
they know the numbers that they're doing.
And
Um,
they wanted to bring prestige back to the championships as well, which is another important thing to remember with all this.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Sasha, even back in the first time, because this is not the first time she's been upset with her direction. She was upset back in I believe it was 2019 or
Yeah.
2018, and she took 6 months off
You left for 6
because she
months.
was frustrated. Yeah, so this is not something new. Um, so let's see here. 5 weeks into your reign, you show up to live TV ready to work. So obviously this is tonight. We're about 5 weeks removed from WrestleMania. They're happy that they're going to be in the main event, and then they're told the plans, and it just sounds like, I mean, number one, they don't seem like they believe that the direction of this makes any sense, and honestly, I mean, I agree with them. There's a lot of great points here. Why are the tag team champions in this match instead of giving an opportunity to, another to two other female competitors? Like, why not have fucking like Lacey Evans in this match? Like Lacey Evans is doing nothing right now. Why not put more women in these matches and create more stars?
It should have
It just
been
doesn't.
Rhea Ripley should have been in that match for sure. Like, how is she not getting
I'm
pushed
not
when you just
even
put her into Edge's new stable? Like, come on.
Right. But I'm not even saying it needs to be Rhea. Just like I understand the criticism and I agree with it. Like, why isn't it somebody else? Why are the two tag team champions being forced to go against each other? Like, that would be
No.
like if in AEW the Young Bucks were both put into a match, like let's say a fatal four way with for a number one contendership for the TNT title. Like, I don't like
Yeah,
it.
why?
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, what are we doing here? Like, it's these two are the tag
Dude,
champions. Like, there's no point to this.
this is one of the easiest bookings that I've ever seen to solve. And all you do is take Doudrop and Nikki Ash and you put them in a tag match against whoever and make it a number one contenders match. You could even put it against Sasha and Naomi and have them get disqualified by, maybe putting somebody through an announce table or using a chair, but don't pin the freaking champions like you always do. And then put Rhea Ripley and someone else and Liv Morgan in that match in the 6-way. You know what I mean? Like, how it's the easiest fix ever, and for some reason they were very stubborn about changing this match. I don't get it.
Yeah, but then also the problem is that they didn't have anything fucking decided until the night of. Like, they didn't have any. They planned this match probably like in the afternoon. They didn't like. There's no time. There's no preparation. Tony Khan did an interview with Forbes over the weekend, and like there was like a video clip making the rounds where Tony Khan saying, "I don't understand how you're tearing up scripts on Monday," and like I don't understand it either.
You
Like, I
think
don't
you think that's why
like.
Vince was stubborn and didn't want to change it? He's like, "No, we wrote it on Saturday. We're not changing this."
No, I don't think Vince wrote anything on Saturday. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think the writers wrote it on that Monday. And again, like the problem is that the product is so low thought, and like it's clearly because they're just like there's just no planning and there's no thought behind it. It's just content. It's just producing content
Yeah.
for the sake of producing content. Like, there's no thought about how it makes sense or how it doesn't make sense. And I think that's just stupid. Um,
Yeah.
but
So
also like there's sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, keep going.
There's also concerns that this story is put in terms of putting Doudrop and Nikki Ash in there too, because they need to start their program according to this, and they're both just
Yeah.
put in this match as well, and it just doesn't make sense to do it this way.
You could have even given both of them a singles title match, one against Ronda, one against Bianca, and had them have good matches and made it look like they would be a good tag team. You know what I mean? Something stupid like that. I don't even know, but it just I don't know. The booking is just getting worse and worse and worse over there. And
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as an E fan, man, it's got to be getting hard to continue defending them like this. Like, this has been a really odd situation, seeing these E stands trying to defend management on this one.
Yeah, it's really kind of gross and it's kind of disgusting, And
Yeah,
so going back to the story, because I don't want to. I just kind of want to. We want to get through it because there is a
yeah,
lot of
for
it.
sure.
You know, talking about So their first instinct is not to like, well, fuck this, we're out. It's okay. Well, let's set up a meeting. Let's figure this out. Like, let's try to make the product better. And according to the story, there's 3 different meetings, and then the producers get upset and are telling them that they have an attitude problem.
No,
And like, oh, it rubs me so like the wrong way, because like like reading this, when I read this last night, it made me think of like in terms of like producers and the writers in that company. Like, it made me think of like that time they hired that comedy skit writer who had no wrestling experience and wasn't even a fan of the product. And like that, those are the types of people that are like these writers. Like, I understand, like, even in the producer role, there's some wrestling vets. I get it. It's not all writers, but like, I have very little faith or care for these writers and producers, and it doesn't help the situation. So it's just like,
Yeah.
the fact that a producer said that, and like, I do think that there's some truth to maybe the fact that maybe it was Bruce Pritchard. I mean, because there were things making the rounds before this tweet went out, like I said, about Pritchard saying shit. So I don't know.
So,
Uh,
you think there's a chance we ever see Sasha or Naomi in AEW?
I think it's way too well. Number one, I think if Sasha Banks is available on the market, I think that that's a no-brainer for Tony Khan. Naomi, I'm not as 100% sure. I think Naomi is a great worker, but I don't think she's on the level of Sasha.
No.
So what, could I see both? Yeah, I could. But at the same time, I could also see, I mean, like, people forget Naomi is related via marriage to Roman Reigns. So
Yes.
this is a very interesting situation in that aspect, where Jimmy and Jey Uso are still working for the company.
Yep.
Um But I mean, if Sasha's available, yes. But here's the problem, right? And here's the thing people don't realize is, just because they walked out does not mean that they are no longer with the company.
No,
Uh,
yeah.
WWE does not have to terminate their contracts. If anything, WWE could get real petty with this and could lock down their contracts as they've done in the past. You know what I mean? Like, oh, gets hurt, unable to perform, like Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
They just push that contract down the road for 2 years. It's like, same thing with this. It's like, all it
Yeah.
takes is WWE to argue, well, you're not performing, so
And
we're gonna push this back.
I think they're going to be petty about this too, because they didn't do this when Tony Storm wanted to leave, when Jeff Hardy left, when Pac left, when CM Punk left. None of these people did they put out a statement like this saying that they were unprofessional and ungrateful and had bad attitudes. It's oof.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very shitty situation from them. Um, and it's just like, I fucking hate this company. Like, I really do. And like, here's the thing, right? Like, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am not some I don't want to say the word bot, because I think that's the whole thing is stupid. I'm not some guy on the internet who hates WWE for the sheer sake of hating WWE. I'm a guy who grew up loving that product,
Yeah.
and being so happy for every Monday night, and whether it was Thursday or Friday or Tuesday. Like, they moved that SmackDown all over the place, but you get my point. For 2 nights of the week, I was so excited. I was like, let's fucking go. That's how I feel now about AEW. Like, the thing with WWE is that over the years, they have done so many things on so many levels, whether it be from an entertainment perspective of just extremely bad booking, to personal shit of just really scummy business practices. Like, I I hate WWE because I could sit down and talk to you for an hour and a half and tell you why I
Yeah.
hate WWE. This is not trolling. This is not that. That's not the point.
Yeah.
'Cause
You're one of the perfect examples of a real wrestling fan who had some of their favorites just absolutely beaten down by this company, and they just completely turned you away. You're the perfect example of that.
Yeah, like, it's funny to me because, so, like, you know how, like, on Facebook you have like the memory thing where like it shows you like your posts from that
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
going back in the years. Like, dude, I open it up like at this time of year, like April, like March through May, and it's just me complaining about the last 12 years of WWE.
Yep.
Like, it's just me being like, I'm so miserable because this show sucked. Like, oh wow, another bad WrestleMania. wow. It's like, oh wow, I can't believe CM Punk left. I like that. That's a huge loss. Just a bunch of shit. And it's like when is enough going to be enough? And that's another reason why when I really do think enjoy what you enjoy, but that's why I give you a hard time when you watch this product, because
Yeah.
nothing's going to change if people tune into this product. Like, I don't care if people tune in to shit on it. I understand. I love JD from NY's work. I think he does a lot of good work for people who don't want to watch that product.
He's
But
the best.
yeah, but as long as people like him and people like you are giving the eyeballs and the attention, shit's not going to change. And that's why I sit here from a perspective of I'm not watching that show
I
no
get it.
matter what. And it's important. It's important to know because WWE thinks that they can just do shit like this. That Sasha Banks is worthless to them, that Naomi is worthless to them, and that they have attitude problems, and that they're the ones who are in the wrong. Like, how many times have we seen over the years stories about these wrestlers, about these people who it's like, oh my god, they're a nightmare to work with. Keith Lee, a nightmare to work with. CM Punk, a nightmare to work with. The list goes on and on and on. Moxley, nightmare to work with. Come on, dude. At what point, is it enough?
Yeah.
And this is just another chapter for me. And it pisses me off because I'm so sick of this shit.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
And I
Well,
think it's just something
go
to
ahead.
keep in mind. I just think it's something to keep in mind. Do you have any more notes on this? Because I do have two more things.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I kind of also wanted to point out reactions across the wrestling world today and last night about it. So the AEW locker room, the people that have spoken out have, been very supportive. Swerve tweeted an encouragement to them today.
Mm-hmm.
Dax Harwood said, if you think it's the right thing, fucking do it. I believe it was.
He said, always follow your beliefs.
Right, exactly. And what a fuck yeah moment. I love FTR.
Yeah.
I love Dax Harwood so much. What a dude. It's my guy.
Oh, I love that. Uncle Dax is the best.
And he's the second best because I want to say how much I fucking love CM Punk
Yeah.
and appreciate CM Punk because this guy's my favorite wrestler. There's no secret to that. It's the worst kept secret of all time. I am a CM Punk diehard, and I will follow him to the ends of the earth and be a fan of him, whatever he does, wherever he does it. But the fact that this guy goes on Twitter and defends these women and is just all about them like that, he was out there on, I don't know if you were on Twitter much today, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
was out there on Twitter today choosing violence. CM
Yep.
Punk was on the warpath today. Matt Cardona's tweeted something kind of sarcastically about kind of how they handled the situation. And Punk responded with that so Matt Cardona said, if I can go back in time, the night I was pushed off the stage in a wheelchair on Raw, I should have walked into Johnny Ace's office, placed my neck brace on the table, and said I was leaving because I wasn't respected as the internet champion. Which was completely, the tone of it was kind of meant to be more of a sarcastic
That's what I
tone.
thought.
Which Matt Cardona is kind of working a heel as King of the Indies, so I didn't really get too upset about it. I know some people did, but Punk did, and Punk responded to it saying, "If you'd go back in time to stand up for yourself, you should stand up for workers now."
Yeah.
And he's going at it with Ryan Satan today, or Satin, whatever his fucking name is, that Mark, and CM Punk is the guy, And then you have on the other side, the thing that really frustrates me is no sympathy. Brian Alvarez was reporting that there was no sympathy from the WWE locker room about this, and I think that that's fucking wild to me.
Yeah, I
I
heard
believe it's.
they
Sorry,
called
go
her
ahead.
a mark. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's completely crazy. Things that were said, the words that were used were Mark, fucking Mark, and diva. And man, fuck those people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, who do you like? Do you want to take a guess at who said this shit? Because I have a theory, but I don't.
Well, I
I
mean, we
don't
could
know. Do you
start
want? Do you
right
want to
off
take a
and say
shot?
it wasn't Charlotte because she's fucking gone, getting married. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah,
then
I
we
don't think
can
Charlotte would
go.
say that.
It wasn't. Well, I doubt it was Ronda, but because Ronda wasn't there, I don't believe. Was she?
Yeah, I don't think Ronda's paying 2 cents. I don't think Ronda gives a
Um,
fuck about the product.
I could be wrong, but yeah, it's just I feel like it was obviously Becky Lynch. You know what I mean?
We're in complete agreement on this. I absolutely think. I think that Becky and Seth Rollins have, they've been that power couple with positioning in that company where like they're the homers and like they're gonna side with management no matter what. And I mean, it's kind of shitty. It's kind of disgusting.
Yep.
But that's pretty much all I have on this story. Obviously, as time goes on, there will be more things to report on that we'll talk about it as podcasts go on and
Yeah, we'll
et cetera, et
definitely
cetera.
update the entire situation as it evolves.
Yep.
All right, so I wanted to go back and touch on the MJF situation that in a previous video I had called the rumors of his possible AEW departure ridiculous. After digesting this whole thing and watching some of the interviews with MJF, I've completely flipped my opinion here. I actually love this. I think this is an absolutely genius tactic to get the WWE stands to start loving MJF to the point where they think he's going to show up any day, towards 2024. Basically, MJF is proving to be a massive draw. Anytime he's on the screen, you can see the ratings go up. He knows it. Tony Khan knows it. Now could he possibly wind up in the E in 2024 or some other time? Of course, because there's always a chance that Tony Khan could drop the ball somehow and make him not happy, something like that. But I just actually I completely flipped my whole stance on this, and I'm actually loving it now. I'm seeing all these WWE fans that are just almost like falling in love with MJF. And I don't think they're realizing, like, right now we're getting MJF 100%, right? Like MJF top of the line, top shelf. If he goes to the E, you're going to be getting MJF diluted, like MJF Ultra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and not to bring Punk back into this, but I was texting Forrest last night, and I sent him a clip of CM Punk when he was feuding with MJF, and like for me, it's like after this, and like all the other things, but after this, like how can anybody feel good about going to WWE? Like
Yeah.
like you would have to be like really like, all right, I'm gonna cash out. I'm gonna take this money. Which I mean, sure, MJF could do, but like I think MJF has a lot of pride as a professional, and I don't know if he'd want to go there.
I agree.
But it was a CM Punk quote when he was feuding with MJF where he's like, "Go ahead, leave. Go be the main event of night 4 of a buy one get one free 4 night extravaganza. You'll get released. You'll be back here, and I'll kick your ass then."
That was such a good
Um,
line.
I loved it. I love him so much. That's my favorite. He's my favorite wrestler. I'll say it a million times, and he'll be the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. In about this time in 2 weeks.
Oh, I hope so. I think it's time. I
I
really
hope.
do. I'm
I
seeing a
really
lot of
do.
people who are just kind of casual fans, and I don't know what it is. I thought his reign has been great, but a lot of people are just not into Hangman right now. So I think it's time we got to put it on him. Put it on Punk.
I agree. But getting back to what we're talking about, I think MJF. I mean, I've always thought he's doing it for the heat, but
Yeah,
I can't see him taking pride in his career, seeing what's going on, and just being like, yeah, I'll go to WWE. I'll go work WWE for a few years. Like, I don't know if I can't picture almost anybody doing that and just being okay with it. You know, like I hope Cody is happy where he is because he deserves it. They deserve each other.
I'm like,
WWE and Cody Rhodes 100% deserve each other.
is Cody destroying them from the inside? Because it's been nothing but a shit show since he showed up.
It's been a shit show before he showed up,
True.
so it doesn't. I don't know. I don't believe Cody's a double agent, but I mean, time will tell, I suppose. But
But I mean, one thing about MJF, like anybody who's thinking he wants to jump ship, remember what program he just got out of with his freaking hero CM Punk. He did a program that lasted the span of 2 years. 2021 and 2022. I don't know how long it was, like a 6 month to a year feud, but this was one of my favorite feuds of all time. The kid's as over as you could possibly be as the best heel in the world right now. They could say that he's not happy with his contract, but it's like, look, man, you just made yourself into the star you are. Your contract will catch up with you.
yeah, and I also think that there's you're speaking of the contracts. The reports are saying that Tony Khan was willing to extend his contract and give him a raise,
Yeah.
but he's going to have to work work more time, which that's generally how contracts work. And so I don't agree with MJF's stance on the fact that he should be making more money without extending the contract. That's something that's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And if that's a shoot right there, then he
No,
can go fuck himself.
it can't be, because that's an absolute insanity to even think that any owner of any organization, club, wrestling, whatever you want to call it, you never boost money on a contract without extending the years on it. That's just insanity. It was just a really good line to draw the heat. It was great. But what do you think about what I said, where this is kind of a ploy to draw a lot of the E stands into enjoying MJF and, getting their eyes on the product?
Me personally, I don't think that that's the intention. I think it's just more so the other way around. I think it's it's an attempt to get people like me to hate him.
We
You asked me
already
what
hate him.
I love him because I hate him because I love him.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I love MJF. He's the best heel. But like he wants everyone to fucking hate his guts. Like he is the greatest heel. But when all said and done, he may be the greatest heel of all time. And he's going to do whatever it takes for him to get over, in a negative way, because that's how heels work. So this, like, he's just gonna say whatever he has to say. And like, what makes me mad, the fact that for the next 18 months I have to hear MJF tease that he's going to the Fed. Yeah, that pisses me off. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
get it.
mean? So it's like that's the point of it. So I don't know. I don't think that MJF is trying to get WWE guys on his side. I mean, that's a side effect of it.
I
But
was
the
gonna
thing
say, I
about the
definitely
WWE
think it's a
fans,
side effect of it. Yeah.
yeah. But the thing is, you got to keep in mind with WWE fans, they are extremely they're very wishy washy, very flip flop. They may say something nice about MJF now, but the second he resigns with AEW, that's not going to translate into new viewers for AEW. It's just going to be those WWE fans are going to go back to shitting on him. So,
Yeah.
like right now, if you go on Twitter, the Fed fans are definitely like singing his praises, but it's like they're not. They're not. I don't want to say loyal, because I mean, I guess you have to be loyal to still be watching that product. But I mean, I don't know. Is that loyalty? Do you call that loyalty? Because I think of myself as quite a loyal fan of things.
I'm gonna be honest with you, because like you said, I still tune in now and then. It's addiction, bro. Like, I'll be sitting there not wanting to turn it on at all, and out of nowhere, my brain is like, "What's happening? What's happening on Raw?" And I'm like, "I don't care," and it's like, "Just turn it on, just see what's happening," and then
Yeah, that's not
fucking
healthy.
do.
That's not healthy. You're gonna have to get that figured out. I mean,
Right?
I hope you never start a cocaine habit or anything. That would be
I'd be toast.
pretty. Yeah, I could see that.
But I mean, I've started. I've already stopped watching NXT over these past few weeks. It is absolutely unwatchable. So, baby steps, right?
Yeah, no, like I'm not trying to be funny. Like, yeah, it's not easy, and I get it. Like, I remember the first time I didn't watch Monday Night Raw, or like the first time like I didn't like try to seek it out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird. It was really weird because like when I was watching, like obviously I would watch every Monday, or if once I started working, if I worked like a Monday night, as soon as I got home from Monday night, you know, would get home around like midnight, 1 a.m. I'm loading up the DVR and staying up till 3 in the morning watching it. And so like I get it, but like that first week, it felt so weird. But then
Yeah.
like 2 3 weeks in of just like not watching, like I was like, oh my god, like I feel like I'm not miserable. I don't wake up on Tuesday mornings in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is, even though I do miss Raw or SmackDown once in a while, I got Simon Miller to do the ups and downs the next morning. That's better than watching. It's way better.
I just do Twitter. You know, I just look at Twitter. I mean,
Yeah.
what I'll usually do is because I always start Elevation or Dark. I usually watch them on a little bit of a delay, and so I'll kind of watch Dark and Elevation, and as I'm watching it, like Raw's going, well, Elevation specifically, Raw's normally going on. And I'll just like look at Twitter while I'm watching Elevation or something like that.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to my last thing I want to touch on here. One of the worst takes I have ever heard come out of the IWC from none other than, shocker, Eric Bischoff. He says that CM Punk to AEW was a massive financial flop. This has to be one of the dumbest things I've heard somebody say, and trying to sound smart while they say it. I don't understand how you could even try to say that when his t-shirt sales broke the website immediately. His action figure pre-sales are through the freaking roof. He's got multiple shirts that have basically sold out every time. Like,
he fucking sold out the United Center in a
yeah,
week's notice
on a
without even
rumor that he
saying
was going
his
to be
name
there.
on an assumption that he was going to be there. Like,
You know, Bischoff's just looking at those ratings that have slowly been tilting down, you know what I mean, for Rampage and Dynamite. But the tilting down is just the overall viewership of television itself, you know what I mean? Like, the money that he is pulling in is undeniable. The, you know, pay-per-view gates are through the roof every single pay-per-view. Double or Nothing sold out $1 million already. Forbidden Door, $1 million. They're the first time they've done 2 gates of $1 million in 1 year. Like, he's out of his mind. I have no idea what he's basing this off of, other than some dumb ratings that he saw on Twitter. You know what I mean?
I think the problem is that Eric Bischoff is, well, number one, Eric Bischoff's legacy is going to go down as a guy that could never be the number one guy.
Yeah.
I at the end of the day, like, you know, he was a TV guy who was brought into wrestling, and he definitely had some good ideas that are definitely worth entertaining. You know, he's not exactly like a Vince Russo, you know, necessarily. He definitely had some decent ideas, but the problem is he couldn't maintain it. He couldn't handle it. You know, so WCW folded, and it's not all on him, but he definitely didn't help the situation.
Man, he killed
And
2 companies.
yeah, you know, and then he went in, he did a stint with WWE, and you know, more so an on-screen performance. And after he was let go, he went to TNA, and TNA never recovered from that.
Never
TNA
recovered.
can't even sell like 50 tickets for a TV taping. 50. Like they can't even, like, dude, they can't
Man.
even have like, they can't even sell tickets to their TV tapings. Like, it's sad. Like, this guy
Yeah.
is like, he's failed at every single company he's been in, minus his stint as an on-screen character in the Fed, you know,
Yeah.
which I think his work as GM of Raw in that 2000, what was it, 2002 to 2004, 5, whatever it was, 6, that was a great stint from him. I think that was his best work ever.
You know,
But
I think he knows that he fucked up, and he said something. I forget what he said about AEW or Tony Khan over the past couple months, and Tony had him on the show once or twice, and I think he realized he accidentally burnt the bridge, and now he's doing whatever he can to jerk off Vince McMahon to, try to get back into his good graces.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's because Bischoff, like, here's the thing, and Punk said it on Twitter, and that's kind of where this all started. But, like, Eric Bischoff is an old carny piece of shit. It's the truth. Like, we need to understand that that pro wrestling is not what pro wrestling was 30 years ago. Like, there's interview quotes of like the Undertaker kind of taking shots at like the modern day pro wrestling locker room, and it's like how like it's just not the same, and it's like you're right, it's a lot less toxic than it was.
Yeah.
Like even in the Fed, like that locker room is not nearly as bad as it was back in the day,
Yeah.
and it's sad, like these old guys who just want to like, it's not all the old guys, because obviously there's old guys that are very supportive of pro wrestling, but like
Yeah.
the Jim Cornettes of pro wrestling, like these are like scum of the earth. You know what I mean? Like God forbid wrestling evolved or wrestling changed in any sort of way. Like it has to be exactly what it was 30 years ago and stay exactly the same for the next 100 years. And it sucks. It blows.
Yeah.
And so for Eric Bischoff to kind of have these awful takes, which again, like you said, he burned that bridge with Tony Khan. So now he's just on the warpath trying to get, back in WWE's good graces. And he's going to take these shots. And he's just incorrect.
Yeah.
And it's just laughable. So I don't, I'm not even going to entertain it any further. Like,
No.
it's ridiculous. Like, he can have his little podcast with Conrad Thompson, and he can shit on the product all he wants, but it's just stupid.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about it. I could, I just thought it was one of the most ridiculous takes I've heard all year. It's got to be the worst take of 2022.
Yeah, it's awful. It's almost as bad of a take as, Sasha Banks and Naomi have attitude problems.
Yeah. All
Hard
right,
to
man.
work
Well, you
with.
got anything else for us?
It's crazy how everybody that leaves that company is attitude problems and are hard to work with.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
It's just,
All right, you got anything else for us tonight?
no, I'm excited for Dynamite tomorrow. I think we're in for another good show. We got Wild Card Wednesday coming up. Those them jokers coming in.
Oh man, I saw a tweet coming from where is it here? I can't find it, but it was basically they kept saying like it's not going to be Jay Lethal, it's not going to be Satnam Singh. Who's it going to be? And I was like, if this is freaking Sanjay Dutt, I am going to be so disappointed. Just please don't be Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be like super critical about it because I don't see them winning. Like if it's Sanjay Dutt, like I don't know. I'm not going to be super picky about it, but it will be a little bit of a bummer to use the Joker on Sanjay Dutt. Like it's going to be like, oh, you could have just booked it. You didn't have to make that a Joker spot. Like you could have booked Sanjay Dutt in that spot as Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think in general it's going to be a great match. I'm expecting them to announce Blood and Guts tomorrow for probably Double or Nothing, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, that should be really cool.
Yeah, so it'll be good. Rampage is on at 7 this week.
Yes,
I don't know if I'm going to be available for a podcast because it's the wife's birthday this weekend. So
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm going to be available, but I mean, I'm sure you'll have something planned up, and in case that's an issue. But
if you need to, we could do it right at 8. No biggie.
yeah, I'll talk to you off the pod.
Yeah,
and we'll figure
see what
something
we're
out.
doing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, man. Well, give us close us out here.
Gotcha. So, this has been episode 34 of the Broken Tables podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a like and subscribe, or a follow, depending on where you find us. Thank you for listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. You can follow us on Twitter at Broken Table Show or on Facebook and Instagram at The Broken Tables Podcast. We go live on YouTube following every single AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and even pay-per-views. Just a reminder that Double or Nothing Week is coming up next week. Get hype. We're going to be doing a pre-show and a post-show for Double or Nothing. The
Yeah.
pre-show is where I will be putting my Broken Predictions Championship on the line. I'm expecting to retain the title and, once again be your champion. We hope to see you again, but until next time, see you later.
Right on. Peace.